Perfect. That's good. Dante, did you see the work that I sent for you?
Oh, I completed that work.
Hang on, let me ask Dante.
No.
You didn't find it? You didn't see it?
I mean, what?
It's a math worksheet, Dante. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see the math sheet.
All right, hang on a second. I just have to flip to another screen to see where it is. Okay, Dante, go to your Google Classroom, and it will be in there. It's like questions you're going to answer, but they're going to be on a computer. All right, it'll be multiple choice, and then you're going to send me your score. Okay? Also, you have 46 of your SumDog questions answered, so you need to answer 154 more.
Okay.
Right, so you've got some math to do, but you should find that in your Google Classroom. And Cedric, did you come back? You're there, Cedric?
Hi.
All right, Cedric.
Well,
Where
why
you
is
at?
it switching out?
Oh, okay. So Cedric, send me the answers to your worksheet. Okay. Cedric, I can't hear you. But send me the answers to your worksheet, and also you have only 9 more SumDog questions to answer. Okay.
Sorry, I glitched out.
So 9. I think you're muted, Cedric. I can't hear you.
Cedric just left.
He left? Okay.
He's back.
Also, Matthew Bellino, you have 107 more questions to answer on SumDog. Nicholas Willoughby, you have 170.
It says there's only 50 questions
All right.
that I have to complete on mine.
Well, everybody had to do. You guys had to do 200, right?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
original challenge, which is
we
over.
had to do 200 questions.
Yeah. So Nicholas Willoughby, I have 30 of them answered for you so far. How many
Okay, because when I go into SumDog, it says I completed. I need to have 50.
Well, I don't know what that means, but the challenge is over anyway. It was over last Friday. I'm just giving you an opportunity to make up questions that you missed.
Okay.
So it's telling me that you did 30 questions, so you have 170 more to do.
Okay.
Okay. Just
Okay.
play junk pile or something. It'll be fun.
Okay.
All right. Let's go over our homework. So your homework was on page 334. I'm going to share with you guys so you can see the answer key. Thank goodness for Cedric and his teaching skills with this. Thank you, Cedric. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it would be easier if you, since there's the graph and everything, that you could see that. So number 1, point A is 5 units left of the origin and 1 unit up from the origin. Its coordinates are -5, 1. It is in quadrant 2. Number 2, point B is 2 units to the right of the origin. It's 3 units down from the origin. Its coordinates are 2, -3. It is in quadrant 4. And they write 4 in Roman numerals. So 4, you guys might think it's weird when I'm saying 4. This is how you write 4 in Roman numerals, IV. Or I stands for 1 and V stands for 5. So that means since the 1 comes in front of the 5, that means 1 before 5. So that's why this is 4. Okay, this is quadrant 2 because it's 1, 2. Okay, then you had to graph and label the points. So here's point C at the point -3.5. So you had to go between -3 and -4, halfway between and up 3. You put a point and call it C. Okay, point D is at 5, 0. To the right 5, up 0. That goes right on the x-axis then. Point right there, call it D. Do you guys have any questions on that top part? Okay.
No
Next.
questions.
Thank you. Next section. Number 5. Describe the scale. The scale means how did they number the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay. So here's the hashtags. So they're saying each grid square is 1/2 unit. Because we go over 2 and put number 1. We go over 2 more and put number 2. So each square is equal to 1/2 unit. And then you had to plot 2 more points. A is at -1/2, 2. To the left 1/2, up 2. Put a point, call it A. Point B, 2.5, 2. Go to the right 2.5. Down 2. Put a point, call it B. Number 8 said, describe how an ordered pair represents a point on the coordinate plane. Include the terms x coordinate, y coordinate, and origin. Okay. So you could say the first number, the x coordinate, tells how many units to the right or left the point is from the origin. The second number, the y coordinate, tells how many units up or down the point is from the origin. Okay, questions on that page?
No.
Anyone? Okay, let's look at the next page. Oh no, I knew it was gonna go really slow and then skip past what we need. Okay, page 335. Numbers 10 to 13 use the coordinate plane. Each unit is 1 kilometer. Write the ordered pair that represents Sam and the theater. Sam is at the point 4-2. Theater is at -3.5. You guys should mute your microphones because someone's background noise is coming up in the background. Number 11, describe Sam's location relative to the theater. Sam is 3 kilometers south and 7 kilometers east of the theater. So they weren't talking about the origin there. They wanted to know to get from the theater to Sam, what did you have to do? Well, I had to go down 3, they called that south, to the right 7, they called that east. All right, number 12. You should have gotten the point -3, -4. right? You had to plot the point of the restaurant, 9 kilometers south of the theater. So you start at the theater and go down 9. What point is that? -3, -4. And then Beth says, I'm directly south of the theater, halfway to the restaurant. So halfway between the theater and the restaurant is Beth. So you would label her right here. That's the point, -3, 1/2. So getting to that 1/2 is a little bit tricky. Okay. 14 and 15, there was a different coordinate plane. Find the coordinates of T, U, and V. All right, you guys can just check your work right there. There's T, U, V, and W for number 15. You had to plot W and give its coordinates. Okay, so check your work for 14 and 15.
Mrs. Palmer,
Yes.
I went to check your YouTube channel to watch the video. I could not find it for some reason. I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it.
Really?
On my phone, yeah, I couldn't find it.
Did you find any of my videos?
No. I looked up Dorcelyn Palmer. Is that your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Okay, I looked that up and it.
Do you know how to spell Doris Lynn?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'll try it. Here.
Go to the St. Joseph website and click Mrs. Palmer's
Oh, yeah,
page.
thank you, Serena. That's a really good suggestion. Mr. Gilger linked all of the teacher pages to their YouTube channel. So you can go to St. Joe's website, go to teachers and click on me, and then you can get there from there. Thank you, Serena.
I'm going to try this.
Okay. Number 16, Janine tells her friend that the ordered pairs that have an x-coordinate of 0 lie on the x-axis. She uses the origin as an example. Describe her error and use a counterexample to say why that's false. Okay. So if the x-axis or if the x-coordinate is 0, it actually lies on the y-axis because we're saying it doesn't go to the left or to the right. All right. The x-coordinate means how far to the left, how far to the right. So that would lie somewhere on the y-axis. Okay.
I found it, Mrs. Palmer.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad you could find it now. Ordered pairs that lie on the x-axis have a y-coordinate of 0. The origin is on both. So that's why 0, 0 is on the x-axis. Okay. But if we took a point such as 0, 3, 0, 3 would be over 0, up 3. It would lie on the y-axis. Okay. How are you guys doing with the coordinate plane, the x and y axis, and plotting points? You okay? Let me see. I know you guys are muted for the most part.
I couldn't really do it because I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay, go back and watch that today, Nicholas.
I will. I'll do this today.
Great.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Matthew, how about you?
It was fine. It's just it was a little tough when it went up to 5 on page 334 because the thing only went up to 3. But now I get it.
Okay. Okay. Cassie, how did you do? What do you think?
On the homework?
Yep.
Or what do you mean?
Yeah, like, did you
I think I
understand the
did
coordinate
good.
plane? Okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised I actually got 14 correct.
Good. Yeah, you did. That's awesome. That's the one about the coordinates. Good. Okay, yeah, because those had the like decimal points, or you could have made it a fraction, positive 3/4 and a negative 3/4, 1 1/4. Okay, good. And Cedric, I did get your email just now with your answers. Thank you.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes, Nicholas.
So on Friday, do we have school?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
We do this Friday. And then next Friday we won't because that'll be Good Friday.
Okay.
But we do have school tomorrow. They are talking about moving to a 4-day week, but we're just haven't done that yet. So they're in discussions about it. So Mrs. Winters will let us know if she does change to a 4-day week. But next week will be short because of the Easter break. And the week after, if we have off that Monday still, then that'll be a shorter week too.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. And yeah, and Cedric and Dante, I wanted to tell you also to come to my office hours one day. You could do it today or tomorrow between 2 to 3 just to meet with me about your math. Okay, so we can go over it together. But I want to go on in our book today, guys, with independent and dependent variables. Okay.
Oh,
Am I still sharing my screen with you?
yes.
Awesome. Okay. Just give me a second to do that. Okay.
Mute your mic, Serena.
Okay, so we are all the way here, and relationships in 2 variables, independent and dependent variables is what we need to talk about today. And like, again, it might take a minute to load because when I'm in Meet, it takes a lot of the internet. Okay. Let me know if you can hear the video when it plays.
Did you know that mathematicians
Can you
talk
hear
about
that?
independence? But that doesn't mean they all want to escape from their jobs and go surfing.
I can hear it.
Can't ever take a break from math. They're talking about how 2 things are related, or not. Animal habitats are one example. Wild turkeys really don't like being confined to small spaces. One study found that every wild turkey needs about 30 acres. You could make a graph to show how much land 1, 2, 3, 4, or more turkeys need. This graph will show 2 variable quantities, turkeys and land. One of these variables depends on the other one, and the other variable does not. Can you tell which is which? This lesson will show you how to identify dependent and independent variables.
No, it took me all the way back to here. Okay. Okay, independent and dependent variables are an important piece in algebra.
How can you identify independent and dependent quantities from a table? Many real-world situations involve 2 variable quantities in which one quantity depends on the other.
It worked.
The quantity that depends on the other quantity is called the dependent variable. The quantity the dependent variable depends on is called the independent variable. Let's look at a real-world situation. A freight train moves at a constant speed. The distance y in miles that the train has traveled after X hours is shown in the table. Let's start by identifying the 2 quantities in the situation.
Okay, I did just want to stop and tell you guys one thing about that word quantities, because when I was your age and I was learning this, I might even have been a bit older because I don't think we did this in 6th grade way back in those days. That word quantities bothered me. And so, you know, I came to find out as I got older and studied math and teach it now, don't let that word bother you that much. Quantities just means like how they're measuring something. Like, let's study these 2 quantities. That word just was confusing to me. And they're just talking about like the 2 different things, like miles and hours. That's what quantity means. So we're going to talk about which one. We're going to have 2 different quantities, which would give us 2 variables. And one is independent, one is dependent. We have to know the definitions of those. Okay. Dependent means it depends on the other one. And independent does not. So just think about that like in real life. Somebody Someone who is independent, they don't need anyone else. Okay. If you're dependent, that means you do need somebody else. You depend on another person. In algebra, your x-axis is always going to be the independent variable. Okay. X is always independent and y will be dependent. So you have to remember that. And also when we're talking about time, because in our algebra problems, time often is one of the quantities. Time is always independent. And try to put that in your head, like it doesn't depend on anything else. Like an hour is an hour. Okay. So like if we're talking about like how far I run in a minute, if I'm like in a race or something, okay, that minute isn't dependent on anything. A minute is always 60 seconds. It will not change. It doesn't depend on anything else. The time will stay the same. How far I run, that's dependent. That matters, you know, how fast I go, how out of shape I am, how old and out of breath I am. Okay. So that how fast I go is dependent on really the time, on how long I run. If I run for 1 minute, you know, I go 500 feet. If I run for 2 minutes, I go 1,000 feet. But the time isn't dependent on anything. The minutes or the hours will always just be the same time no matter what. Okay. All right, so let me see if I can go back to what they were telling us. I made it smaller, but now I can't find it. Hang on. If only you guys were here, you could find it for me. Oh, it's back. Can you see it? Well, yeah, I think you guys are muted, but someone answer me. Maybe
Yes.
you can see it. Thank you. Okay. So what are the two quantities? Can I click on that?
The two quantities are time and distance. Time is measured in hours and distance in miles.
Okay, so that's on page
Now let's decide
337.
which of the two quantities depends on the other.
Okay.
Drag the quantities to the correct place in the sentence.
So we're doing page 337 together right now, and that just answered A. It says, what are the two quantities? So you're going to fill that in, time and distance. Which depends on the other? Well, we talked about the one being dependent is how far Mrs. Palmer can run, my distance. It depends on the time, okay? So that's the second part. Distance depends on time. You're going to write that also for A on the second spot.
You're right. Distance depends on time. Since the train travels at a constant speed, the distance it travels depends on the amount of time it travels. So, if distance depends on time, then what is the independent variable? Type it in the box.
Okay, so the independent variable is time. Time is always independent.
Correct. The independent variable is time, x, because it does not depend on the distance. And what is the dependent variable? Type your answer in the box.
Okay, so the dependent will be the distance, y.
That's not it. The dependent variable is distance, y.
Okay,
Distance is the dependent variable. How far the train travels depends on the amount of time it travels. Look at the table. Let's see how far the train travels each hour.
okay. Serena, how far does that train travel every hour?
50 miles.
Good
The
job.
train travels 50 miles each hour.
Okay, so that's B
X
on page
represents the
337.
time. We can write an equation in two variables to represent the relationship between the distance traveled by the train and the time in hours. Let's write the variable for distance traveled.
Okay, distance traveled looks like the
Y
variable's
represents
y.
distance traveled. How do we calculate distance traveled? We We calculate distance traveled by multiplying the distance in miles traveled per hour by the time in hours. So the distance traveled, y, is equal to the distance traveled per hour, 50, multiplied by the time. You can also use a graph to represent a relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. Let's look at a situation. An art teacher has 20 pounds of clay, but wants to buy more clay for her class. The amount of clay, X, in pounds, purchased by the teacher, and the amount of clay, Y, in pounds, available for the class are shown on the graph. Look at the graph. If the teacher buys 10 more pounds of clay, how many pounds will be available for the art class?
Okay.
Select your answer.
Okay, so they want to know if the teacher buys 10 more pounds. Here's the clay the teacher buys. So we're going to go over to 10. And we're going to go up to our graph and see where that point is. Here it is. Nathan, what number is that on your y-axis?
30.
Okay. Drag 30. Click it. There we go.
Right.
Good.
If the teacher buys 10 more pounds of clay, 30 pounds will be available for the art class. Look at the graph again. If the art class has a total of 50 pounds of clay available, how many pounds of clay did the teacher buy?
All right, so here's clay available. So it says if the art class has a total of 50 pounds of clay, so now I'm going to go up my y-axis because this is the clay available. 50. How much did the teacher buy? So I'm going to go across. Here's the point, and I'm going to have to see where that is on my x-axis. Nicholas Willoughby, what is that? How much clay did the teacher buy?
That's 30.
Great job. If 50
Mrs.
pounds
Palmer?
is available
Yes.
for the art class,
Can I go to the bathroom?
Of course.
30 pounds.
Okay, because
Let's identify the two quantities in this situation. The first label shows the title of the y-axis. The second label shows the title of the x-axis. The tiles of the x and y axes show the clay available for classes and the clay bought by the teacher. So, which of the two quantities depends on the other? Drag the phrases to make a statement to describe their relationship.
okay, so what I want you to remember is your x-axis is always independent. Y is dependent. So I'm going to say clay available depends on the clay bought for the teacher. And the other thing I want to show you before I hit check is this point right here. It's called your y-intercept, where a graph crosses the y-axis. This is at 20 on your y-axis. That means when the teacher bought 0 pounds of clay, the class had 20 pounds available. So that means there was like already 20 pounds in the room. Maybe it was left over from art class last year. Okay, so before the teacher buys anything more, there's 20 pounds to start.
Good job. The amount of clay available to the class depends on the amount of clay bought by the teacher.
Okay, guys, I just shut that down because it's time that I have to go into my next math class. But what I want you guys to complete is page 342. Okay, it's like what we did today. You can email me with questions, or if you work on this before 2 o'clock, you could pop in between 2 and 3 to ask me questions. And if you're working on it later today, you could email me if you have any questions. Okay, do you have any questions before we go? Okay, page 342 is what I want you to complete. All right, have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.